Hello everyone, I'm Dave Webb, Chair of CND, and I've been asked to talk about Trident for a few minutes. As you know, Trident is the UK's only nuclear weapons delivery system. It consists of 4 Vanguard-class nuclear submarines based at Faslane in Scotland. Each submarine is armed with up to 8 US Trident D5 missiles, with a total of 40 warheads distributed among them. Each of these warheads can be independently targeted, and each one is around 8 times as destructive as the bomb that flattened Hiroshima in 1945. The government claims that one submarine is continuously on patrol every hour of every day. However, it was recently revealed that 2 Trident submarines have spent a year undergoing repairs, so it's not clear how continuous the patrols can be. The government also often refers to Trident as an independent nuclear weapons system, but it's almost totally dependent on the United States. For example, Britain doesn't own the missiles. They're leased from the United States and taken from a pool of missiles maintained in the US at Kings Bay in Georgia. Also, the UK Trident warheads are produced jointly at Sandia National Laboratories in the US and at AWRE Aldermaston. Let's just go through a few items about each of these components: the submarines, the missiles, and the warheads. We'll start with the submarines. The UK Parliament eventually agreed to replace Trident Vanguard system in 2016 with 4 submarines in a new Dreadnought class. Around the same time, the US decided to replace their Ohio class of Trident-bearing submarines with a new Columbia class. Dreadnought is being built at Barrow-in-Furness by BAE Systems, and they will be maintained at the Devonport Royal Dockyard in Plymouth by Babcock Marine Systems. They are to be propelled by a new design of nuclear reactor, the PWR-3, which is also based on a US design, and these will be manufactured in Derby by Rolls-Royce. In January, a National Audit Office report revealed a problem with all of this. Because the upgrade to Trident depends on 3 monopolistic suppliers, AWRE, Rolls-Royce and BAE Systems, contracts cannot easily be terminated even if poor performance is identified. This results in billions of pounds of cost overruns and the programme running years behind schedule. In 2015, the amount to be spent on the new submarines had already been increased from £25 billion to £31 billion, and an extra £10 billion contingency fund was established for when the project goes over budget, which it already has. The costs are increasing all the time. For example, it was recently revealed that spending at AWE Aldermaston had doubled from a budgeted £2 billion to almost £4 billion in 1 year. Taxpayers are also paying £30 million a year to store 20 nuclear submarines waiting to be dismantled at Devonport. One of these submarines is actually the first British nuclear submarine, which was decommissioned as long ago as 1980. Cost for the programme has soared, and the whole dismantling project is £800 million over budget and 15 years late. It was also originally thought that Dreadnought would enter into service in the 2030s, but it's likely to be much later than this now. And when it does appear, the annual running costs were set to be around £2.4 billion, or 6% of the defence budget. Who knows what they will actually turn out to be. How about the missiles? The Trident D5 missiles were first deployed in 1990 and originally planned to be in service for 30 years. That is, until this year. And so Britain is paying £350 million to opt into the US plans to extend the life of the Trident system to the year 2040. The result is that a life-extended version of the D5 missile, the D5LE, is now being deployed until the US has a new generation replacement ready. The D5LE has an improved navigation and fusing system which makes them more accurate, more deadly. This kind of accuracy would not be needed for deterrence and emphasises that Trident is developed as a first strike weapon. This is a point picked on by Rob Forsyth, previously an executive officer on a Polaris nuclear submarine during the Cold War. He has been pointing out that differences between then and now and questioning the current possible first use policy, which is also a strategy of NATO, of course, to which Trident is assigned. Just a few days ago, Forsyth and 2 other ex-naval commanders have written, "It is completely unacceptable to spend billions of pounds on deploying and modernising the Trident nuclear weapon system when faced with the threats to health, climate change and world economies that coronavirus poses." Couldn't agree more. Additionally, the replacement for the D5LE is not due until the 2040s. But Dreadnought was originally due to come into service before that, so it's being designed to carry the current missiles and then the new US replacement ones when they come along. And the UK has already paid for a significant proportion of the development costs of the common missile compartment for the Dreadnought and Columbia submarines to enable this switchover to take place when the time comes. On to warheads. The warheads in the UK's Trident are based on the US W76 Trident warhead, with several of the UK warheads key components also being brought off the shelf from the US. Just a few weeks ago, it was also revealed by Pentagon officials that the government will be developing a new generation of warheads for Dreadnought, which will be based on the new US W93 warhead being designed for their new Columbia submarines. This was revealed, in fact, before any discussion in Parliament or any announcements by the UK government, much to their embarrassment. So the cost of the whole system, when the government talks about the cost of replacing Trident, it quotes the cost of replacing the submarines, £30 to £40 billion. If the total cost of everything that is required to build, service, maintain the replacement for Trident, if that's taken into account, then CND estimates the total cost to be £205 billion over its lifetime. There are many reasons to question the replacement of Trident system, of course not just the cost. A major reason why the submarines were retained as the British nuclear arsenal was that they can remain hidden and undetectable under the sea. However, rapid technological progress in underwater drone technology and space-based sensors is making it possible to detect their presence even when submerged. There are also serious concerns and doubts surrounding the vulnerability of the Trident system to cyber attack, despite vague reassurances from the government. The 2015 National Security Review has identified the security threats to the UK that it currently faces. Among the Tier 1 threats listed are terrorism, cyber attacks, and a health crisis due to pandemics, funnily enough. And of course, we also need to address the public problem, the global problem, of climate change. Nuclear weapons cannot help with any of these. As we are experiencing now, this analysis has not been reflected in the government's actions. We were not prepared at all for the COVID-19 virus, while the government continues to claim that having a nuclear weapon is vital for our security. Nuclear weapons are actually worse than useless. They're diverting money and effort away from addressing the real threats. The sooner the government comes to its senses and scraps Trident and its replacement, the better. So what can we do? Well, we can write to our MPs to tell them that it's time for the government to wash its hands of Trident so that we can begin to address the real security threats that we face. This can take just 2 minutes using the CND lobbying tool on the website. The treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons is likely to come into force this year. So you can write to your MP again to ask them to support the treaty by signing the ICANN Parliamentary Pledge, which is available. More details of that are available on the ICANN website. You can also write to your local councillors and ask them to ensure their council joins the ICANN Cities Appeal. Again, there's more information on the website. Also, if you have time, you can check out the latest report from Don't Bank on the Bomb and see if your bank or council pension fund or whatever invests in any of these companies involved in nuclear weapons production. For example, Lockheed Martin, BAE Systems, Jacobs Engineering, General Dynamics, and so on and so on. If they do, then write to them to ask to divest or move your money somewhere else. So, thanks for listening, stay well, and good luck.